The devil's in the details. And there's so much opportunity if you start asking the right questions. Welcome to the Retire on Time podcast. I'm Mike Decker here with David Franson from Kedrick Wealth. We're going to be answering your retirement questions. This show is all about you and not oversimplified advice. We want to get into the nitty gritty here. We want to give you context and clarity, not confusion and more questions, if that makes any sense. Text your questions to 913-363-1234. We'll feature them on the show. And remember, this show is not financial advice. David, what do we got today?
Hey, Mike, what would you do in your final 10 working years? Presumably to prepare for retirement?
So 50 years old or so?
Okay, so you're around 50.
55.
You want to retire around early 60s.
So the first thing I would want to do is establish how much income do I think I'm going to need in today's dollars. And the reason why is if you understand that number, you can start to then shape where are you going to fund your money in different pockets. So for example,
Okay.
if you know you want to, let's say, have, $80,000 or less
Okay.
when you retire. Well, the standard deduction, let's say it's about $30,000. I know it's more than that today, but in the future things could change. So your $80,000 goes to $50,000 for taxable income. We're getting close to the federal poverty level for income taxes. And so if we understand that maybe from 60 to 65 years old, if we're going to retire at 60 years old, and that's the income that we want, we have an opportunity to manipulate your income taxes for those first 5 years to then potentially get lower Affordable Care Act credits
Oh, okay.
or subsidies and so on.
Yes.
So if that were the case, then I would want to make sure that I've saved enough in my brokerage account so I could use long-term capital gains for those few years.
And we want to use those because?
Long-term capital gains is going to be taxed at either 0% or 15% or 20%. So let's say you put in, 100,000 in there and it grows to 200,000 arbitrarily. Easy math, okay? So that means every position you sell, half of it is going to be taxed as long-term capital gains and half of it's going to be taxed as a basis, as in it's not taxed,
Okay.
okay? So if you need $50,000 of income and 25% of it is taxed, well, your standard deduction just took out of it is tax-free. You look broke.
Oh.
You qualify for all the subsidies.
Oh,
Or
right.
most of the subsidies because it's technically off of modified adjusted gross income, but you're getting closer to a very tax advantageous situation.
Mm.
That might be a strategy you want, but unless you save in the right tax buckets, pre-tax, after-tax, or tax-free, think of your IRA, your Roth, or your brokerage account,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't know to save for those in those different buckets. You might just opt into, well, I don't want to pay taxes right now, and we'll figure it out in the later, and you put everything in the pre-tax amount.
Mm.
Might be a missed opportunity. Now, maybe the income, you could argue that, $50,000 of taxable income, it's in the lowest tax or lower tax brackets. That's not that bad of a gig anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm splitting hairs. Maybe you want $200,000 of income
Okay.
each year. Then that long-term capital gain strategy for the first 5 years might be even more important
Okay.
because there's more savings. There's a lot that could be done there.
Uh-huh.
Another example is if you keep saving into your pre-tax at 55 and you've already grown your IRA or your 401k exponentially, you could run into RMD issues. And if you look at tax brackets now and your income right now, maybe it makes sense to pay taxes and put it into the Roth so there's no future RMD issues in the Roth.
And define an RMD issue. What's an RMD issue?
RMD issues, based on my definition, are when your required minimum distribution is greater than the income that you need in retirement.
Okay.
So if you need $100,000 of income in retirement
Mm-hmm.
and $40,000 comes out from your Social Security because you're 75 years old and you have to take out your Social Security at that point.
Yeah.
So you need $60,000 more, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if your RMD is $100,000?
Oh.
$40,000 is just getting taxed, and then you have to do something with it so you could reinvest it. But if you take out $100,000 as your RMD,
Mm-hmm.
$60,000 you spend, $40,000 you then put into a brokerage account. Well, that brokerage account, if you get a dividend from it, increases your tax bill. And you might say, well, Mike, you should be grateful for the dividend. That's just more money. No, you're getting taxed on money you didn't have to be taxed on. You could have gotten ahead of it and had the money go to Roth and then invested it and not had to pay that tax for the rest of your life. It's an unnecessary headwind. So before 50 years old or before your last 10 years, you're hitting it hard and just saving as best as you can with the highest dollar amount. Then before you retire, the last 10 years, you're fine-tuning where the money is going to the different buckets and then the investments and products within those buckets so that you're able to be very tax efficient, that you can manipulate your taxes for healthcare purposes so that you know you have liquidity access to everything that you might need.
Okay.
If you retire at 55 years old, you don't want to roll over your 401k. There's this thing called the rule of 55. So let's say you're 45 years old to 55 years old and you retire at 55 years old. Arbitrarily, that was the date you picked. Well, great. When you retire, keep your money in the 401k. You can take out IRA funds through the rule of 55 and not pay the additional 10% penalty.
Yes. Because you can't take it out until you're 59 and a half, technically, right?
Technically, but if you leave it in the 401k, you can take it out earlier.
Ah.
Now, you might say, well, Mike, why don't we just put money in the brokerage account? You could do that too, which is better in your situation. Maybe you've already accumulated too much in your IRA. And if you've accumulated too much in your IRA, then you'd want to start spending it down deliberately based on the 10 to 12% tax bracket from 55 on, and then do the rest from long-term capital gains. Maybe you blend it that way. Do you see how there are so many ways you could finesse your plan and have different seasons of income strategies based on the tools that are available to you? And one of the tools is how much money is in each bucket.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can't do that if you don't plan ahead. Let me give you another one.
All right.
Life insurance, some people want. Some people want to file for Social Security at 70 years old. And so they want the higher benefit, and that can make sense for especially people with longevity. But if one spouse were to die before 70, they've lost that income stream. Now they get half the Social Security. When I say half, not literally half, it's you've got two spouses. If one spouse goes away, then you get the higher of the two benefits, but there's still one less income stream.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah. So yeah, if spouse A made less money and so therefore their monthly Social Security benefit is less. If spouse B had a higher,
the surviving spouse gets the higher benefit.
Okay, yes.
But you still get one less income stream.
Yeah, instead of two income streams, it's one, even though it's the higher of the two, but it's still
loss.
Two is better than one, right?
And so you might want a small life insurance policy to bridge the gap, and maybe you don't. You might want to manipulate a life insurance policy just because you're concerned about tax law and you want to use an IUL later on to then absorb the taxes. This is okay. This is technical, but let me walk you through a strategy some people use.
Okay, let's do it.
So some people will say with life insurance, look, bond funds make 2 or 3% year over year anyway. I can probably get around that or maybe slightly better through the cash value growth of a life insurance policy if it's funded correctly. That is a true statement. Your cash value could grow at maybe more than 4 or 5% overall after the funding than it would like a bond fund. And life insurance or cash value like an IUL may not go down, right? Just the fees. And the first 10 years or the first 5 years, especially, the fees are terrible. Then the next 5 years, they're not as bad. Then after 10 years, if you fund the policy correctly, then it's a wonderful bond fund alternative that has the death benefit. And if the policy is structured correctly, the cash value should be able to pay for the death benefit and continue to grow overall, not in every year, but overall. So you're kind of killing a couple birds with one stone. It's not going to grow like the stock market, but it could be a good replacement for part of your bond funds, give you a death benefit, help hedge against your life insurance needs or your healthcare needs, chronic illness and all of that. That all makes sense. But you want to start funding it earlier on. You don't want to become a 65, 70-year-old and then start funding the policy. It's too expensive. Don't have the time. Doesn't make sense.
Because you need that time to get through all the bad fees or the expensive fees. Yeah.
IULs front load fees. So that doesn't make it bad. There's a death benefit. The insurance companies are taking on a risk. They're going to get compensated for that risk. But if you fund it, let's say over 5 years, and then you drop the death benefit, so it's enough that it covers the risk you want to cover, then the cost of insurance is lower because you dropped the risk to the insurance company by dropping the death benefit.
Mm.
Then the cash value has some reasonable growth potential. You might want that as a part of your plan later on, and here's why. If you fund it from 50 to 60 years old, let's say, and people look, just watch this a couple of times if I lose you at any point. That
Sure.
this is a lot.
Yeah.
Or transcribe it, put it in an AI, and have it explained to you in a different way. I don't care. But if you fund it over 10 years and now the death benefit's low, the cost of insurance is very low, and you've got this cash value that's indexed, so it's got upside potential but no downside risk except for the fees.
Mm-hmm.
If there are fees, there's always fees. You're going to pay those fees regardless. Then let's say you're 67 years old now, okay, and you're doing IRA to Roth conversions. Instead of doing an IRA to Roth conversion and paying out of that conversion, so you're paying from your IRA the taxes,
Oh yeah.
or you're doing an IRA to Roth conversion and you pay the taxes out of your brokerage account, you could borrow against your life insurance policy cash and pay the taxes, because when you borrow against life insurance, you're not actually taking cash out of the policy, you're borrowing against it. So if the cash value, the gross cash value, so like the total amount that's in there,
Mm-hmm.
grows at a greater rate than the loan
Mm-hmm.
that you took out. So if the cash value grows at, let's say, 5 or 6%, and the loan's like 3 or 4%,
Yeah.
you're making money on money you spent.
Oh, right.
This is called positive arbitrage.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a guarantee. Markets go down, you're still paying the loan. You've leveraged your life insurance policy to some extent. So that's why you have to understand how to manage it. You have to understand, you don't want to get greedy with this sort of thing, but that might be something you want to do to help absorb the tax burdens, thinking 10 years from now that this is a potentially more efficient way to do your IRA to Roth conversions. And that is a true statement.
Mm.
It is a potentially more efficient way if you fund everything correctly.
Yeah. I mean, how can you know you're funding everything or setting everything up correctly?
It's the rule of thumb is if you keep your fees extremely low
Uh-huh.
and you know a start and stop date of the funding,
Okay.
that's the big takeaway.
All right.
As a quick tell, the higher your death benefit, the more the insurance agent's commissions will be.
Mm.
So it's counterintuitive, or it's a conflict of interest to want to have the lowest death benefit possible. But that's how you lower your fees.
Right.
So, but that's something that gets very much more advanced than your typical retirement prep strategy.
Mm.
It's something you need to have enough foresight to entertain, and it's not right for everyone. Some people may prefer a different approach and a different kind of algorithm or equation on how to get what they want. That's okay. There's more than one way to skin the cat, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, in today's environment, I'm concerned about a flat market. In that, when money leaves the American economy, like it is right now, international is doing well and money's just going overseas, it's leaving like crazy. That has only happened a few times in the history of our country. It happened in the late 20s, 1920s, early 30s. Can you think of the Great Depression?
Mm-hmm.
That was a rough economic time.
Mm-hmm. To
Okay.
say the least, yeah.
Yeah, that was a flat market cycle. In the mid 60s, we entered into another flat market cycle. What was happening? There were credit issues. There were inflationary issues. Money was leaving the United States. It was another flat market. For over 10 years, the equities market did not make money.
Mm.
It did not grow. And we gloss over these broad understandings or broad patterns. 2008, money was leaving the American economy.
Mm.
So why is that important? Because indexed products make money when the markets go up. They don't lose money when the markets go down. So it is one of the best hedges
Okay.
against a flat market cycle.
Yeah.
Yet it's like it's this invisible risk that people don't even look for.
Mm.
So if we continue to have money leave the economy, we're going to be kind of like how you feel after a race. You're just exhausted.
Yeah.
You're not going to keep racing. You're going to take a break.
Right.
It's almost like the economy has to digest its growth while it's also all of its money's been leaving. So it's not going to be able to recover as well. And so we're kind of a tinderbox. Markets go down. wouldn't you want products that can't lose money, but
Mm.
also participate in the upside
Mm-hmm.
to hedge against this, to be kind of like a stair stepping forward?
Sure.
That's what buffered ETFs can do. They're not all principal protected. Most of them aren't protected. You need the max buffers to even consider most of the protection. But buffered ETFs are a great hedge against a flat market cycle. Indexed annuities are a great hedge against a flat market cycle. And indexed universal life insurance is a great hedge against a flat market cycle. So you got to think outside the box. But the point being is, when it comes to 10 years
Yeah.
or before, or even 5 years,
Okay.
ask what you want in retirement, what's the income that you want,
Okay.
then build the plan around that, and then understand how much needs to be funded and where, and then what products are you going to fund and when will you fund them.
So okay.
Like 10 years from now, if you're 10 years away from retirement, I would not buy a fixed indexed annuity.
Because
Too early.
okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's when like you're 5 years away.
Okay, yeah, because it just doesn't have enough. You can you need some more growth. You could withstand some more risk.
Yeah.
When you're 10 years versus 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my opinion. I would lean more towards like buffered ETFs if you're 10 years away. If you're 5 years away, could be great.
Okay. Yes. So the basic checklist then I'm going to retire in 10 years. Is this when I start trying to figure out what I need for income in retirement?
Yeah. How much income do you need? What you want your retirement to look like?
Uh-huh.
How much are you saving? What's the current trajectory? What are the strategies you want to implement? What are the risks that could get in the way of your being able to retire when you want? And then start picking the investments and products that you need now and start to slowly shift the portfolio each year. So 10 years away, it's one version. 9 years, it's slightly different. 8 years, it's slightly different.
Uh-huh.
And you're not doing a target date fund.
Okay.
Those just mean the older you get, the more bond funds that are in there.
Yeah.
That's not a strategy. It's a strategy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good strategy. I think it's a simplified strategy.
Oversimplified for like, or casting a wide net. Here, just put your money in this.
Yeah, your needs are probably different than someone else's needs.
Yeah.
It's usually how it goes. So what's right for you?
Right.
So I think people, generally speaking, they say finance is easy. You put it in the market and you forget about it. And so they don't ask more questions.
Mm.
And if you ask more questions, you'll realize there are many more strategies that you could implement now to better position yourself for the 10 years before retirement and then when you retire.
So should I put money in a Roth at 10 years before I retire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
All of it or some?
Well, that's the thing, actually. So there's been enough people that were making $300,000. They're the top income earners, like airline pilots, for example. They're
Okay.
making great money,
Uh-huh.
but they only need like $120,000 to live off of.
Okay.
So they should keep going to the IRA and deferring taxes because their taxes will likely go down when they retire. There's always an exception to the rule, but the idea is that you're proactively understanding today and 5 years and 10 years from now, and where do you fund, how do you fund, and what investments or products are in those different tax accounts, whether it's IRA, Roth, or brokerage account. The devil's in the details, and there's so much opportunity if you start asking the right questions. And I'm not withholding these questions. I've basically shared most of the questions here is, when do you want to retire? How do you take the money out? Are we in a flat market, up market, or down market? What risks are you willing to take? What risks are you not willing to take? What's the income out? What are the tax brackets in there? What are the healthcare concerns that are there?
Mhm.
How do you manipulate the tax return so that you're able to then spend the least amount of money possible to get the highest quality insurance possible? These are the questions that you got to start asking, and then understand, how do you play the game. Don't think about a strategy to implement over the next 30 years. Think about, in this year, what's the strategy? The next year, what's the strategy? And so on. That's all the time we've got for today's show. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to tell a friend, leave a rating, or subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. As always, go to retireontime.com to get the resources, buy the book, join a workshop, or much more. Don't forget our many planners that are available to you, publicly available. Just go to retireontime.com for that and much more. Thank you for spending your time, your most precious asset, with us today. We'll see you in the next show.